5 bone-chilling teacher encounters that haunt students at midnight. Forever the clock struck midnight, a haunting hour where shadows deepened, and secrets slithered into the air. Picture this, an eerie school, its dark hallways whispering forgotten tales. Students say 5 teachers, now mere phantoms, leave their indelible marks on the living, and they do so when the clock ticks to 12. An impossible blend of intrigue and dread surrounded the legends of these educators, forever entwined with the nights that chilled the bones of anyone foolish enough to linger. The first tale spins around Mrs. Hargrove, the science teacher with wild gray hair and a voice that could send shivers down the spine. They said she once experimented with an ancient alchemical formula in her dim-lit lab. But when it flopped, spectacularly exploding into a mist of glittering smoke, it ignited more than just notes. Now her spirit roams the lab, forever searching for the missing ingredient, while students swear that they can hear her frantic scribbles in the dead of night. Just when doubt begins to creep in, then there was Mr. Thompson, the math whiz who could calculate faster than any calculator. Little did anyone know he had a deeper obsession with mysteries, particularly with numbers that could unlock hidden secrets. He vanished one fall evening, mouth set in a grim line, leaving behind a chalkboard covered in strange symbols. Today, students report that at midnight, if you listen closely enough, you can hear the subtle scratching of chalk followed by an inexplicable equation echoing in the air, ticking away like a clock, time slipping into the unknown. A creeping sense of unease settled over the school when they whispered about Miss Clancy, the literature teacher whose class seemed to be a portal into darker realms. It happened after she read a story about a cursed book. The very next day, she was found staring blankly at a page no one could see. Today, many claim that if you enter the library just before midnight, shadows dance across the shelves, and chilling laughter leaks from the spine of a forbidden tome no one dares touch. And don't forget about Mr. Reynolds, the history teacher infamous for his riveting tales of long-lost warriors. He was known to appear late at night, weaving stories into the fabric of the air. But as the years rolled on, he grew silent, eventually rumored to have merged with the very history he cherished. Now, loners in detention hear him reciting battle cries from ages past, and the faint clangs of swords echo through empty halls, sending tremors of fear rippling through every student's spine. Lastly, there's the specter derived from all these tales, the ghostly figure known as the Phantom Principal. Rumored to drift through the corridors, he appears when the moonlight spills through the windows, searching endlessly for his lost students. Eyes wide, students swarm to whichever window gives the best view when the clock strikes 12, half glancing between wonder and fear, whispering tales of his tragic demise linked to a terrible storm years ago. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. But just as the final breath leaves the night, a resounding bang echoes from the empty library. A book drops, pages fluttering like frantic wings, as a chilling silence falls. Who or what is behind that door? The answer lingers just out of reach, waiting to draw in the next brave soul who dares to find out. The echo of the banging book hung in the air like a ghostly whisper, wrapping around the hearts of those who dared to stay. The library, bathed in soft, flickering moonlight, seemed to breathe with anticipation. As if it held its own secrets, waiting for someone to crack them open. Sarah stood frozen near the entrance, her breath shallow. The shadows shifted, swirling in front of her like dark clouds gathering before a storm. Just a moment ago, she had gathered her friends to explore the tales of the spectral teachers. Now, all she felt was a churning dread settling in the pit of her stomach. She claimed she wasn't scared, that she wanted to face whatever was lurking in the dark. But now uncertainty draped over her like a heavy blanket. "Are you sure we should go in there?" whispered Jake, glancing nervously at the door. The others murmured anxious affirmations, eyes darting around as if the shadows themselves carried eyes that would watch their every move. but curiosity glimmered in Sarah's chest, pushing her forward. "Come on, we came this far," she urged, trying to will her unease away. "What if it's just a prank?" As she stepped inside, cold air wrapped around her, sending shivers down her spine. It was silent, the kind of silence that felt almost sentient. Except for the soft crunch of their footsteps against the wooden floor, it was as if the library was holding its breath. Jake hesitated, reluctant to cross the threshold. "Guys?" The tremor in his voice intensified the anxiety gripping the group. But they pressed on, moving deeper. Suddenly, a faint rustling came from an aisle to their left, a book tumbling violently to the floor. With nervous laughter, they brushed it aside, though the truth hung heavy. Nobody was ready for what came next. "What if I don't know, what if we find something really creepy?" whispered Lucy, eyes wide with a mix of thrill and fear. She brushed her fingers along the spines of various novels, the dust settling like memories long buried. Then it happened. A low, guttural sound echoed in the distance like the growl of something waking from a deep sleep. The group halted, hearts pounding in unison. The air grew thick with dread, waves of it washing over them like a crashing tide. "Did you hear that?" Sarah's voice trembled, catching on the edge of her fear. Before anyone could respond, a burst of laughter filled the air, vibrating through the library like a dark omen. It was a sound that tore through the eerie silence, cold and taunting. Shadows danced along the walls, weaving stories of despair that sent shivers racing down their spines. "Let us go," Jake began, but before he could finish, the faint glow of a candle flickered into existence at a table in the corner, illuminating a figure draped in darkness. The form seemed both human and otherworldly, a silhouette lined with an indescribable energy, the embodiment of the stories they had all feared. Sarah felt her heart leap into her throat. "What is that?" she gasped, eyes wide with both terror and fascination. The candle flickered again, and the figure turned, revealing a face twisted with an unsettling grin. The laughter crescendoed, matching the rhythm of their panicking hearts. The ghost of the literature teacher, or perhaps something more sinister, stood before them, and all thoughts of bravado escaped into the night. With courage faltering, they stumbled back, their minds racing. This was not just a haunting, it was an invitation. An invitation to uncover secrets woven into the very fabric of their school and the destinies of the teachers who left their shadows behind. But as the figure beckoned them forward, the walls around them began to tremble, the dusty books shivering as if alive with fear themselves. What secrets lay behind those shadows? Would uncovering the truth cost them more than they were willing to lose? As the haunting laughter echoed on, their paths seemed to intertwine with the ghosts lurking in the dark, and just then, amid the chaos, came a whispered promise, a chilling question that lingered in the night air: "Are you willing to pay the price?" The air thickened, heavy with a mix of ancient dust and dread, as the candlelight flickered uncertainly in front of the spectral figure. Sarah's heart raced, pounding against her ribcage like a wild beast desperate to escape. The laughter coiled around them, echoing off the high walls of the library, and each reflexive glance around the room revealed only warped shadows, those familiar yet foreign shapes slowly intertwining with the people they once knew. "Stay close," Lucy whispered, her bright eyes now wide as saucers, darting back to the ominous figure. "Maybe it's just a trick of the light or a trick of the mind," Jake countered, voice low and trembling. He inched back, instinctively drawing the others with him as if by sheer force of will, he could eliminate the ghost from existence, but Sarah's curiosity burned brighter than her fear. "No, wait, what does it want?" The figure tilted its head, and that unsettling grin widened, revealing nothing but empty shadows where teeth should have gleamed. It took a step closer, candlelight dancing off its obscured form. The flickering flame projected its silhouette against the wall, a dark mimicry of humanity that quivered as if on the verge of breaking free. With grim determination, Sarah took a single step forward. "Show us," she demanded, though the slight quaver in her voice betrayed her conviction. "Show us what you want." A gust swept through the library, chilling them to their core, followed by a sudden, profound silence. The laughter faded, and a low murmuring began, like whispers of students long forgotten. their stories trapped in the dusty tomes. The figure raised its arm, the gesture beckoning them closer. A glimmer of light broke through the gloom, revealing a book splayed open on the table in front of it, the pages fluttering wildly as if caught in an unseen wind. Dust motes danced in the air, twinkling like long-lost memories. "What's that?" Sarah asked, hesitantly stepping into the light. "It looks like a diary," Lucy said, squinting while she braved a step forward. The words scrawled along the pages flickered in and out of focus, too distorted to decipher. But something about the energy surrounding the book felt powerful, even familiar. "Don't touch it," Jake hissed, pulling Lucy back as if by sheer instinct. "What if it's cursed?" But the others were drawn by an invisible thread, hesitant footsteps unwillingly moving toward the light. Sarah reached for the book as if it were a lifeline, fingers grazing the edge of the pages. In that instant, visions flashed behind her eyes, fragments of long-lost moments, laughter echoing, voices blending into restless murmurs intertwining with her own. The room shook violently. The shelves creaked, books rattled in protest, and the figure's laughter transformed to deep, guttural growls, filling the library with an oppressive weight. Sarah yanked her hand back, just in time to see the figure dissolve into darkness, its form dissipating like mist. Panic surged through the group, and they turned to flee, but the door slammed shut with a resounding clang just as they reached it. "Let us out!" Jake cried, banging against the wood, his voice rising in a pitch of desperation. But even as he pounded, the air vibrated with energy, deepening the shadows around them. The walls trembled again, and Sarah felt an electric jolt shoot through her limbs. In that fractured silence, a voice emerged clear, haunting, like a melodic echo of her own fear. "Each of you holds a piece of the truth. Collect it, and you may leave. Fail, and become like the stories forgotten within these walls." "What does that even mean?" Lucy asked, her voice barely above a whisper, eyes scanning the darkened edges of the library for answers. The walls seemed to nod, shadows dancing along the surfaces, creeping ever closer. The book on the table remained open, inviting them to decode its mysteries and perhaps, the key to their escape. Sarah's heart raced with uncertainty and trepidation, caught between the tangled threads of curiosity and dread. What story did they have to uncover? What truth did their voices hold? Just then, the candle flickered again, illuminating a shadowy figure moving through the stacks, and among them lay the unmistakable outline of a desk complete with an old, dusty chair. What had that muggy darkness concealed, waiting to be discovered? And would they be willing this time to pay the price for the knowledge they sought? Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself against the chilling fear gnawing at her insides. The flickering candle cast eerie silhouettes across the bookshelves, shadows of a forgotten past whispering secrets. She glanced at Lucy, whose wide eyes mirrored her own dread, then at Jake, who still pounded against the door. Each thud echoed despairingly, a stark reminder of their entrapment. The room trembled again, shaking loose a cloud of dust that danced in the flickering light. Sarah's gaze returned to the open diary. "We have to see what it says," she whispered, her voice steadying as if she were convincing herself. "Maybe it will help us understand." "Are you out of your mind?" Jake shouted, halting in place. "You want to open a cursed book? You really think that's a good idea?" But Sarah felt compelled, as if the diary was somehow part of her. Ignoring Jake's protests, she took a step toward the light. The pages fluttered wildly, revealing snippets of handwritten entries, their ink faded and barely legible. "Listen." Lucy reached out, her fingers hovering over the words. "It looks like it's written by someone named Eleanor Whitmore." Eleanor Whitmore? The name sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. The librarian who disappeared years ago? Exactly. Lucy exclaimed, leaning closer as if the truth was just out of reach. If we can piece together her last entries, maybe before she could finish. The lights flickered violently. Shadows lengthened and twisted, creeping along the floor toward them as if the very darkness was sentient. It felt alive, hungry. Get away from it. Jake shouted again, but Sarah pushed forward, compelled to understand. What if she is trying to communicate? Sarah insisted, voice rising above the chaos. We need to know what happened to her. The air crackled around them, sharp and electric. The whispers returned, louder this time, a chorus of desperate voices plotting their escape. Each word twined into their minds, weaving stories of regret, betrayal, and death. Suddenly, the diary slammed shut with a thunderous clap, echoing through the library like the sound of a gunshot. Sarah stumbled back, heart racing. The figure returned, emerging from the darkness, taller and more menacing than before. Its eyes' dark voids bore into each of them, freezing them in place. Each of you holds a piece, the voice taunted, now deeper and more resonant, vibrating through the air. But can you bear the weight of the truth? My God, Lucy gasped, stepping closer to Sarah. What does it mean? A flicker of movement snagged Sarah's attention by the desk. It was a chair, moving slightly as if someone invisible was seated there. A soft, melodic voice began to whisper from the shadows, mingling with the laughter that echoed faintly. Help me, Eleanor, it pleaded, filled with anguish and longing. The voice twisted with emotion, and the shadows surged forward, wrapping around Sarah and her friends, tugging them closer. She could feel cold fingers brushing against her arms, pulling her down into the whispers. It was as if the darkness yearned for companionship, desperate to share its burdens. Run! Jake screamed, but the command fell upon deaf ears. The whispers grew louder, spinning a web of confusion, pulling at their sanity. The phrase "the weight of truth" lingered ominously in the air. Find the truth. The voice roared, shattering the chaos momentarily. Or face the fate of those who came before you. Sarah's heart thundered in her chest as she turned back to the desk. What had Eleanor locked away within her enigmatic last words? In that moment, the flickering candle died, plunging everyone into darkness. What secrets would they uncover in the inky black? And were they ready to confront the truth, the one that might change everything? Sarah's heart raced, and her breath hitched in her throat as darkness enveloped them. It wasn't just the absence of light, it was a heavy, choking sensation that pressed against her chest. She felt Lucy's hand gripping her arm tightly, a lifeline in the suffocating void. Is everyone okay? She whispered, the tremor in her voice betraying her fear. Yeah. I think, Jake replied, but the uncertainty in his voice hinted that their safety was anything but assured. The shadows danced around them, shifting and curling as if they were part of the very fabric of the library. Eleanor, what did you trap here? Sarah muttered, still drawn to the diary that had just clammed shut like a resentful clamshell. She couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a far more sinister game. The chilling voice echoed in her mind. Find the truth. It was a ghostly whisper that didn't fade away, but resonated fiercely, igniting her determination. She had to understand. Their survival depended on it. With a deep breath, Sarah shuffled forward, her outstretched hand encountering the desk's rough surface. She felt a pen lying there, unevenly warm to touch, as if it had just been used. Without another thought, she flicked her phone's flashlight on, the beam slicing through the darkness like a knife. The scattered pages of the diary stirred in response, revealing shapes that seemed almost alive under the harsh light. The first page was filled with frantic, reeling words. The shadows grow restless, they hunger for revenge. The truth is buried, but it shall rise again. Guys, listen to this. Sarah breathed, but as the words left her lips, the shelves around them creaked, like the library itself was reacting to the truth being uttered aloud. Keep going, Lucy encouraged, her voice barely above a whisper, her eyes fixated on the now trembling pages. Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline. It says she found something terrible, right before she disappeared. Each word felt like a weight tugging at her gut. She couldn't let anyone know. We have to find out what it was. Suddenly, there was a loud bang, startling them all. Jake jumped backward, the light from Sarah's phone dancing wildly as he knocked over a chair. What was that? He shouted, panic flooding his tone. Just, stay close, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. The shadows shifted again, as if drawn by their fear, swirling with more intensity. Then the words on the page caught her eye again, beneath the floor lies the key to my fate. Cold fear wrapped around her spine. Beneath the floor? What did it mean? What lay below their feet? We need to get out of here. Jake insisted, his eyes darting around the room as if danger lurked in every corner. Wait. Sarah grasped Lucy's wrist, her mind racing. What if the truth is down there? What if it can save us? We can't leave without it. Are you insane? Jake shouted. The library's haunted or something. We don't know what's below. It could be worse. But it could also be the only way we can escape. We can't let fear trap us here. Sarah argued, feeling the heat of urgency rise in her chest. Look. Lucy pointed at the floor, her finger trembling. The light revealed a loose floorboard inside the middle of the room. Dust settled around the edges, like time itself had preserved it, waiting for them to uncover what lay beneath. Help me, Sarah urged, pulling at the edge of the board, her face set in determination. But as she pried it up, the shadows flared violently, twisting together into a formidable shape, malevolent and monstrous. An echo of anguished cries filled the air, drowning out their own terror. The shadows morphed, revealing figures lost in time, shrouded in sorrow and regret. What have we awakened? Jake exclaimed, eyes wide with horror. In that moment, they realized that the search for truth might not just be perilous, it could cost them everything. Just then, a cold gust swept through the library, and the walls seemed to close in around them. Stay together. Sarah yelled, as a chilling roar erupted from the depths below, drowning out all rational thought. Could they face what lay beneath, or had they sealed their own fate? The answer loomed just out of reach, a truth bound by shadows and echoes of pain. And as the shadows rushed forward, engulfing them, Sarah's final thought before being swallowed by darkness was, what if we aren't alone? Sarah felt the air shift as the shadows closed in. It wasn't just darkness, it was suffocating, almost sentient, wrapping around her like icy fingers. The spectral figures rose above them, spectral faces twisted in horror, mouths opening in silent screams that pierced the silence. Get back! Jake yelled, stumbling backward until he nearly tripped over a stack of books. Lucy's grip tightened around Sarah's wrist as they pressed closer together. The shadows seemed to pulse, alternating between a swirling mist and sharp, defined figures, their eyes glowing with a ghostly light. Eleanor was right, Sarah whispered, barely able to hear her own voice above the chaos. They're trapped here. They want out. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. These spirits weren't just angry, they were desperate. But desperate for what? Was it revenge, or something else entirely? Suddenly, in the chaotic ebb and flow of the shadows, a bright flash broke through. One figure, distinct from the rest, glided forward. It looked impossibly familiar, its features hazy yet hauntingly recognizable. Clara? The girl who vanished years ago, before Eleanor. Clara! Lucy gasped. Is that you? The spectral girl seemed to nod, shrouded in an ethereal glow. Her voice, barely audible and trembling, slipped through the layers of shadow. Help find justice. What do you mean? Sarah implored, falling to her knees in front of Clara's wraith. What happened to you? Clara's image flickered as more shadows surged forward, swirling aggressively around her. They were not pleased that she had come so close. Each pulse of fear catalyzed a burst of darkness that threatened to smother them all. Above all, truth must be unveiled. Clara's voice grew fainter as she began to dissolve back into the shadowy mass. Uncover the lies they bury. Clara. Wait. Sarah reached out, but Clara's likeness faded as the other figures engulfed her entirely. We can't let this be the end. Lucy cried, pulling Sarah back to her feet. What do we do? The diary lay abandoned on the desk, pages fluttering in an unseen breeze. "We need to finish reading," Sarah insisted, scrambling to grab it. "There might be something here that tells us what happened to Clara. We can't stop now." Jake hesitated, still glancing nervously at the oncoming shadows. "You're really willing to put your life on the line for a ghost story?" "It's not just a ghost story." Sarah snapped back, her heart thumping against her ribs. "If Clara is still tied to this place, then maybe she holds the key to our escape." As they huddled around the diary, the pages began to turn on their own, revealing more about Eleanor's fate. Words flickered into view, revealing a pattern, a connection between Eleanor's disappearance and Clara's tragic end. They were both sacrificed to silence the truth. Sarah's voice grew heavy with the weight of revelation. Eleanor had found something she couldn't tell anyone. The shadows hissed in disapproval, a gust of wailing air that sent a shiver through them. The cacophony seemed to build as the walls of the library shook, threatening the very foundation that held them captive. "Now, it all makes sense," whispered Jake, panic etched across his face. Eleanor was trying to protect Clara, but whoever or whatever did this silenced them. A chorus of spectral voices howled, sending vibrations of terror into their bones. The shadows lunged with a fierce hunger, intent on claiming what they believed was rightfully theirs. "Run!" Sarah shouted, adrenaline coursing through her veins. But where could they go? The library had become a labyrinth of despair. Heart racing, Sarah grabbed Lucy's hand. "We need to find the source, whatever truth there is. We have to uncover it before we're consumed." As they plunged deeper into the library, the light from her phone flickered, illuminating the path ahead while the shadows began to mold it together, forming a terrifying onslaught. In that moment, doubt settled in. Could unearthing past horrors save them, or would it only expose them to further danger? And as they raced toward that blinding light at the end of the corridor, one shattering thought resonated through the darkness: what if the truth was more horrifying than the shadows themselves? The corridor stretched ahead like a bottomless pit, the faint light flickering with every frantic step they took. Shadows writhed along the walls, clawing at them like spectral hands eager to drag them back. Sarah felt a chill creep up her spine, the air thick with dread. "What if we can't find it?" Jake's voice trembled as he glanced behind them, his eyes wide with fear. "What if the truth is a lie meant to keep us here?" "Don't say that." Lucy shot back, her voice steady but laced with panic. "We have to believe there's a way out. Clara needs us." As they charged toward the fading light, Sarah's mind raced. Was Clara's message a warning or a plea? The diary clutched tightly in her hand felt heavy, brimming with secrets they had yet to unveil. She fumbled through its pages, heart pounding as the text shifted and morphed under her touch. It was as if the book was alive, responding to the pulse of fear and urgency radiating from them. "Wait!" Sarah shouted suddenly. A phrase caught her eye, a small phrase hidden among the text. "It mentions a breach of silence." What could that mean? "I don't know," Lucy said, her brow furrowing. "But it sounds important." Just then, a loud crash echoed through the library, sending a tremor through the floor that nearly knocked them off their feet. The shadows screeched, an unbearable sound that clawed at their minds. Bookshelves toppled, and dust swirled in frantic spirals around them. "Look! The window!" Jake pointed toward the far end of the corridor where a faint luminescence seeped through the cracks in an old wooden door leading to a hidden chamber. "Let us go," Sarah called, her voice barely rising above the din. They sprinted towards it, desperate for escape, but the shadows descended like a tidal wave, a dark, amorphous mass determined to engulf them. With one final surge of adrenaline, they pushed through the door. The soft glow enveloped them in warmth, momentarily washing away the chill of fear. They tumbled into the room, gasping for breath, but what lay before them was a sight that froze them in place. The chamber was adorned with ancient artifacts, each pulsating with an otherworldly energy. In the center stood an altar with the diary laid open, the words glowing ominously. Above it hung a shattered mirror, fragments glinting like stars scattered across the floor. "What is this place?" Lucy whispered, her eyes wide with both wonder and dread. "The heart of the library," Jake murmured, stepping closer to the altar. Clara mentioned this. Beyond the breach of silence, Sarah whispered, as realization hit her. "It's not just about Clara, it's about the truth that was hidden here." Suddenly, the shadows roared outside, slamming against the door, a cacophony of rage and desperation. "We have to read it," Sarah shouted, but the words seemed to get lost amidst the chaos. As she approached the diary, the shadows began to seep through the cracks of the door, curling around the edges like snakes searching for prey. It was now or never. With a shaking hand, Sarah reached down and read aloud the glowing words. "To unveil the truth, sacrifice must occur. Only in revelation shall they be free." The air thickened, and the room darkened. Shadows surged forth, hungry for the revelation. "What does that mean?" Jake cried. "What sacrifice?" And as the last word escaped Sarah's lips, the room plunged into darkness. The eerie silence that followed pressed in around them, leaving them suspended in dread. What price would they pay for the truth? As shadows swirled like a deadly storm around them, Sarah felt the weight of their impending fate. Was this just the beginning of their unraveling, or had they unleashed a darkness greater than they could have ever imagined? Only time would tell. The darkness was absolute, suffocating them in its embrace. Sarah felt her heartbeat thunder in her chest, each pulse echoing louder than the last. "It's coming for us," she thought, panic gripping her throat. "Lucy! Jake!" She yelled, but her voice bounced back to her like a cruel joke, swallowed by the vast nothingness surrounding them. A faint, flickering light started to materialize from somewhere within the shadows. It hovered like a distant star, illuminating the jagged edges of the shattered mirror above the altar. "Over here." Jake's voice cut through the silence, tinged with desperate hope. Sarah squinted through the gloom, pushing forward. The altar's glow intensified, casting elongated shadows that danced against the walls like specters mocking their struggle. She reached Jake's side, Lucy close behind, her breath hitching in fear. "What do we do?" Lucy's voice was a mere whisper, trembling as she clutched at Sarah's sleeve. The shadows surged closer, coiling and twisting ominously. "We must complete the passage," Sarah urged, her voice trembling but resolute. She faced the diary, the light flickering around it beckoning to her. "The sacrifice, it has to mean something." As if reacting to her words, the diary's pages began to turn rapidly, each brush of its paper sending a shiver through the air. The shadows paused, a heavy silence stretching out, eager, expectant. "Maybe it wants us to give up something," Jake suggested, stepping closer. What if we have to reveal our own truths?" "Like what?" Lucy asked, brows knitted in confusion. "I don't know." "Something deep," Sarah burst out, memories flashing in her mind, a weight pressing against her. "Choices made, secrets buried. What have we hidden from each other?" The air thickened, turning electric, and shadows seemed to ebb slightly as they spoke. The diary throbbed with light, urging them. I never told you guys about the night Clara disappeared," Sarah admitted, her stomach twisting. "I had a choice to help her, but I didn't. I froze. I thought she'd be fine without me." With every word, the illumination intensified, seeping into their bones, igniting the memories of guilt long buried. "I lied to my parents about everything, making them think I was great," Lucy confessed, her voice cracking. "I felt I owed them that, but I was falling apart inside." Jake clenched his fists, eyes glistening in the faint light. "I was scared of living in Clara's shadow, so I pushed her away. She was my closest friend and I just let her go." A sudden gust of wind whipped through the chamber, rattling the ancient artifacts. The shadows recoiled as if burned by their confessions, but they didn't dissipate. Instead, they writhed, agitated. I think it's working. Sarah cried, feeling the power of their shared truths weave a fragile peace. They looked at each other, a tenuous bond forming in the face of fear, but the shadows roared back, furious and relentless. It needs more. A voice whispered from the darkness, chilling them to the bone. It sounded like Clara but twisted, a haunting echo. Sacrifice is not just admission, it continued, slithering through the air. It demands a price. A sudden tremor shook the altar, and the shards of the mirror began to clink ominously, each fragment reflecting distorted images of their fears. What does it want? Lucy screamed, eyes wide with horror. Maybe it wants someone to give up their memory. Jake shouted, desperation surging in his voice. Like a piece of ourselves. No. Sarah's protest was instinctive. To forget was to lose everything they fought for. But as shadows lashed out, clawing for them, her heart raced with dread. We have to decide. Lucy cried, staring into the darkness. Before it's too late. They gathered close, voices trembling as they faced the chaos, the decision weighing on them like an anchor dragging them under the dark sea. Would they pay the price for the truth or fight against the shadows that sought to consume them whole? As the darkness pressed closer, a cold realization dawned. Sometimes to find the light, you must first risk everything in the dark. What choice would Sarah make when faced with the ultimate sacrifice? The altar shuddered, splintering the tense stillness. Shadows recoiled in a wave, retreating slightly, as if momentarily stunned by their confessions. But Sarah could feel the malice return, curling in on them, hungry for more. The air was thick with tension, suffocating. We can't give up our memories. That would just make things worse. She shouted, shaking her head violently. Lucy's eyes darted, glancing at the shadows thrumming just beyond the flickering light, and suddenly they didn't feel quite as safe. What are we supposed to do then? Jake demanded, a tremor in his voice. Stand here and let it take us? I don't know. Maybe there's something else. Sarah's mind raced, dredging up every secret and lie she had buried deep. She thought back to Clara, and all the times she had wished to go back, to change things. Overhead, the mirror creaked, the shards shimmering ominously, as if repositioning themselves in a way that twisted the reflections into grotesque forms, mocking their guilt and fears. I could give up my fear, Lucy said softly, making her face serious. I've let it control me for too long. Maybe if I release that. No. That's not enough. Sarah's words were quickly cut off as the shadows began to pulse, like a living thing stirred to rage. Wait. What if it's not just about sacrifice? What if it's about confronting our darkest moments? Jake proposed, his eyes widening as he spoke. What terrified us most that we couldn't face? At his words, the darkness surged again, a shadowy tide. Sarah's heart raced, the thought was terrifying. Tell it what scared us the most, Lucy gasped, panicked realization dawning. Like when I almost drowned last summer. I hated being helpless. I was terrified of losing everything. I can't do this. Sarah whispered, her fingers trembling at the thought of the loss. What could she even say? Look, it's asking us to face our fears. Not just admit them. If we just admit things and toss memories aside, it won't be sufficient. It needs us to accept them. To embrace them. Jake shouted, his voice resonating with a newfound determination. We won't survive unless we battle this darkness head-on, Sarah realized. With a gasp, she vowed, okay, I'll do it. I'll share mine first. But before she could take a breath, a forceful gust slammed against them, swirling with ferocity. They struggled against it, gasping for air as the shadows howled in fury. It was truly relentless now. I can't breathe. Lucy cried, dropping to her knees, tears streaming down her cheeks. Lucy, you need to hold on. Jake shouted, struggling to stay standing. Okay. Okay. Fine. I'll go. I'll do it. Sarah choked out. I was afraid of Clara being mad at me. I didn't want her to hate me for not being brave. I thought losing her would destroy me. With each word, the shadows pulsed, struck, lunging towards them with anger. She could feel the power of her admission igniting the air, cracking against the emptiness like lightning. Maybe that's it. Jake grasped Sarah's shoulder tightly. We've spent so long fearing this dark place. We need to embrace it. I'm scared of losing everyone I love. Clara. My family. If I never overcame my fear, I wouldn't be here. Tears streamed down his face, but a fierce light began to glow around them. Lucy's expression changed, her eyes shifted with clarity. I can't keep running from my past. I drowned that day because I didn't even try to fight. I let fear win. The shadows wailed, the air grew thick, wrapping around them like a vice ready to snap. But with their voices raised against it, the shadows shied away, flickering momentarily. We just need to be stronger. Sarah yelled as adrenaline surged through her veins. We can do this. Louder now, they spoke, each confessing fears long held. Each admission ignited a fire that pushed back against the darkness. And amid their voices, a chilling echo rippled. The haunting voice of Clara intermingled, beckoning them deeper into the abyss, but just as they began to feel a flicker of hope, they heard it again, a bone-chilling whisper drifting through the shadows. You think the reckoning has come? This is just the beginning. As the darkness closed in, it became clearer than ever, they were still not safe. The very act of facing their fears might unleash something far worse. What had they truly unleashed, and could they muster the strength to confront the horrors yet to come? The darkness roared like a living entity, oppressive and swirling around them, magnifying their fear with every confession. Shadows whipped and clawed, clawing at the floors, threatening to suck them into the depths of despair. But Sarah's spirit ignited. She could feel the weight of their shared truths lifting them just enough to stand sturdy against the impending storm. Don't stop. She yelled, her voice cutting through the chaos. This is our chance. We can fight back. The air thickened with their combined courage. In the middle of the chaos, Jake shouted, I'm scared of becoming just another ghost story. I want to be remembered for who I am. His voice trembled but rang with undeniable force, momentarily sweeping the shadows back. And I'm afraid of what will happen if I don't leave behind those stupid fears. Lucy shouted, her eyes wide with resolve. If I lose control again, I won't be able to breathe. If we wait too long, it will swallow us whole. As they spoke their truths, the shadows lessened, hesitant, twisting in agitation. Each confession burned brightly, illuminating their faces as flashes of color danced within exhaustion and hope. This isn't just confessions. It means something. Sarah shouted, her heart racing with exhilaration and fear. Together, we can turn their torment into a catalyst for our freedom. The shadows pulled back, mere wisps at the edges of their consciousness, waiting, almost as if the darkness itself was reluctant to fully materialize. Clutching each other, they pushed into the warding light emanating from the diary, its pages now glowing brighter than ever. Listen! Sarah cried, thrusting the diary open again with trembling hands. She felt drawn, not just to the words on the page, but to the fading echoes that whispered in their minds as if distilling secrets from beyond. In that moment, a new voice warmed the cold silence. In revealing the deepest pains, there lies liberation, Clara's voice echoed, fierce yet gentle, coalescing as an echo of defiance amongst the shadows. Chase the light, embrace the pain, find the truth and free us all. With collective determination fueling them, they banded together, forming a united front. In a chorus of voices, they declared their most profound fears out loud, painting a circle of honesty around them until the shadows recoiled further still. I was afraid of my own shadow. Sarah shouted, of never being enough, of disappearing like Clara. Fearlessly, Jake shouted, I never wanted to run away, I wanted to face life head-on, to find the truth and seek justice. Justice for Clara. For Eleanor. I let fear drown me, it stole the joy from my life. Lucy yelled as her tears flowed freely. But no more. I refuse to yield to what haunts me. Each admission grew louder and more powerful, a wave crashing against the force of despair. The shadows writhed in agony and fury, snapping their dark claws at the trio as every word of truth illuminated the library, forcing souls lingering in torment to retreat into the cracks of the floorboards. More. Clara's spectral voice urged, amplifying their shared strength. They pressed forward, needing to finish what had begun. Each confession was a strand of light piercing the darkness, reweaving the fabric of their reality. I'm scared of losing control of my own path, afraid I'll let everyone down. Sarah yelled, and with that, a rippling light burst forth from the pages of the diary. Yes. The light. Lucy cried, that's what we need. The shadows shrieked, twisting violently as they clawed for purchase on their truth. And Sarah felt the darkness retreat. It was instinctive. The more they screamed their fears, the more the reality reshaped around them. Then, all at once, the rhythmic pulsing of the diary locked into a crescendo, and the library trembled. The eerie silence was shattered. In a spectacle of shimmering light, every fragment of the shattered mirror above exploded forth, splintering the obsidian tendrils of darkness, attempting to pull them into oblivion. The spectral forms twisted and writhed in agony, the shadows screaming as they evaporated into nothingness, dissolving like whispers on the wind. The room trembled with power, and the shadows revealed lost truths surrounding Clara and Eleanor woven into the swirling mists, and there they stood, trembling yet whole, each of them echoing the truths they sought to bury. They paid no price for the darkness. Instead, they forged an undeniable strength of unity, a truth resonating through the ages. As the remnants of darkness faded into nothingness, the library sparked to life. Light streamed through the broken windows, chasing the remnants of despair into the void. The air became lighter, warmer. They had faced their fears together and emerged victorious. Did we do it? Jake panted, startled, breathless. Sarah grinned, a mix of relief and disbelief flooding her heart. We faced the shadows together. And, Clara, she's free now. They stood in the radiant heart of the library, each of them transformed by the experience. No longer prisoners of fear, but torchbearers of their own destinies. As they walked to the doors, the oppressive weight of secrets fell away, leaving behind the warmth of newfound friendships and truths unburdened. Outside, the world beckoned with its familiar charms, ready to be embraced. Together, they stepped out into the dawn of the new day, sunlight embracing them, sealing the promise of a fresh start. Let us promise to never let fear keep us in the dark again, Sarah said, her voice steady with resolve. Agreed, Jake nodded, a newfound strength in his posture. Lucy smiled, and if the ghosts start creeping back, we'll just face them together. With laughter spilling forth like sunlight, the promise of adventure awaited, and together they ran into the future, not just as survivors of the past but as champions of their own story. But remember to march forth with courage. If you face your fears, they might just lead to the most beautiful chapters yet to be written. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now, it really helps feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support.